Sabah al khair, good morning, dear listeners. You're listening to Radio 3CR on 855 AM and Palestine Remembered with Robert Martin, Nasser Mashni, and Yusuf Ahmed al-Rimawi.
Palestine Remembered is Australia's only English-language radio program that is totally dedicated to Palestine. We'd like to welcome those listening on 855 and those that will join us on podcast at 3cr.org.au.
Thanks for joining us. Stay with us and enjoy the episode.
Bringing you the news and views and the untold side of the Palestinian struggle for freedom from a Palestinian perspective.
Good morning, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Palestine Remembered. I just can't believe I'm still doing these date updates, day 363 of this genocide, day 363, and we're still where we are, still sitting there with the absurdity of the hypocrisy and the double standards, a compliant media, and let's just stay here on this continent. The outrage, the language, the upset of mainstream media, fueled by a divisive alternative prime minister, African crime gang, Lebanese migration, walk out of the stolen generation apology, Peter Dutton, our alternative prime minister, 27 million people, and this is the guy, possibly the alternative prime minister to lead this country. Jumping up and down that we're going to celebrate, feeding into that nasty stereotype that Arabs, Muslims feed off, enjoy blood. Just absolutely shocking. Let's be very clear. There is no celebration for genocide. There is no celebration for the ecocide, the scholasticide, the genocide of a population by a rabid, fascist, sickening regime that is Israel and their Zionism. Peter Dutton went to Israel, did the pilgrimage to the kibbutz, didn't meet any Palestinians at all. Whilst he was there, of course, he took the official photographs. He took a photograph with the president of the state of Israel. No photograph with Benjamin Netanyahu. Interesting that he hasn't taken that picture. It might be because he knows that if he took that picture and we got a hold of that picture picture would be everywhere and it would do nothing for him electorally, and those pictures, the pictures of leaders with Benjamin Netanyahu post-October 7, will be like pictures with F.W. de Klerk whilst Nelson Mandela was in jail. Nobody wants those pictures. They want us to change the date. How could we be celebrating October 7? October 7's a solemn day, and all the hoopla about the victims of Hamas. No concern for the Palestinians, the 250, the deadliest year to date since the Second Intifada in the West Bank to October 6. No care about those brown people. They're allowed to die. They just do die. When you read our media, they don't killed or assassinated or murdered. They do just die. But we need to change the date. These are the same people that won't change the date of Invasion Day. Every Invasion Day that we go out, and we talk about it not being a date to celebrate. Sure, you want to celebrate your settler colonialism, etc. Have some respect for the indigenous people that were once 100% of this population. You want to change the date? Change that date first. Look inwardly at your racist colonial mindset when you talk about that. And also look inwardly and understand that we are commemorating the loss of all life. I saw a video clip earlier on today from one of the very first rallies we had. When I say one of the first, in fact the first, it was the Monday. And there was just a 7-second clip of me. And I said, we're here to protest about all deaths. We don't want anybody to die, Muslim, Christian or Jew. From the very start, our movement has been a movement of inclusion, of love, of equality, of shared humanity for all. Shared humanity for all. And this othering that exists in our country today, and they talk about social cohesion in this abstract, as if half a dozen Hezbollah flags have any sort of equivalence with the tens of thousands of shrouds that our martyrs have been buried in. Over 2,000 Lebanese now, 1 million displaced. Israel is going on an absolute rampage in Lebanon, as they did in Gaza, because they're unchecked. Unchecked in Gaza. Nobody said anything to them. That becomes the new normal. The standard we let go becomes the standard we accept, and that's where we are today. That's where we are today, where people are jumping up and down and talking about flags and stuff. Nobody's talking about how we're feeling. I did an interview on the ABC breakfast program. That was the very first question they asked me, how's it going? And I spoke about our community, how we don't feel like we're being spoken to, that we belong,
Stay tuned to 3CR
that we're
Community
equal.
Radio.
And if you pick up a newspaper today on the 5th of October, I couldn't imagine any of our listeners picking up the Australian, but if you did pick up the Australian, a quarter of that paper is filled with the horror stories of kidnapped victims and families of kidnapped victims, quote unquote. And they are horror stories. Nobody wants to belittle their suffering. I'm a human being. But October 7 was 364 days ago. The Palestinians have had an October 7 every day. Every day. Where is the equality in our suffering? Where's the equality in our humanity? Where's the equality in everything? And so when our Prime Minister, our opposition leader, our premiers all over the continent are going to attend vigils, commemorations on this now sacrosanct day, October 7. And they tell us not to come out, not to commemorate. They call them protests. The Melbourne Vigil, the Sydney Vigil are silent vigils. The Melbourne Vigil will be led by poets reading poetry. There'll be dirges, a silent procession, and candlelights. There is no better way to commemorate the loss of all life than something as sombre as that. Now, the difference between our actions and their actions is our actions are inclusive and available for everyone to come. There will be Jews at our events. We welcome anyone who has love and peace in their hearts to attend. In the alternative, not one Palestinian will be invited to any one of these Zionist events. Not one. And the language of our elected officials in those things will be full of condemnation, full of stern condemnation, and the need for brown people and Muslims to find a way to belong. Find a way to belong. And this is the framing that is so disgusting and sycophantic and is tearing at the very fabric of what holds a community together, that we are told to belong, and in the same token we talk about what governments talk about, finding a way to protect our Australian Zionist and Jewish communities. Our anti-Semitism envoy has been out there punching every clock she can to make sure that the Venn diagram between Zionism, Israel and Judaism is a single circle. Zionism, the State of Israel, and Judaism is a single circle. It's outrageous, and in fact, it's anti-Semitic. Ms. Segal is out there briefing politicians everywhere that Zionism is Israel, is Judaism. It's unacceptable, it's anti-Semitic. The appointment of an Islamophobia envoy was announced during the week. Now, if you remember when Ms. Segal was appointed, she was flanked by the Prime Minister, the Attorney General, the Immigration Minister. There was the whole set of regalia of flags behind. There was an open press conference. There were many claps and back-patting to be had. It should be clear that Ms. Segal came from the Executive Council of Australian Jewry. This doesn't make her eminently qualified as an expert in Judaism. She's a Israeli Hasbarist, has been at forefront of ensuring that our voices, mine as well, are deplatformed. She has been on record criticising the government for calling for a ceasefire. This is not a person who I would argue should be an anti-Semitism envoy. I'll also say, as I'm on record, that we should have no envoys. We should have no envoys. There should not be a hierarchy of racism. All hate is equal. In fact, the fight against hate is best when we all unite together and fight against it together. The people that are really anti-Semitic are also Islamophobic, they're also homophobic, they hate all of us equally. And that we fight together to to beat that, and the best way to do that is with a robust Human Rights Commission, with the strengthening of existing laws, and the funding of those centres to ensure that they can do that work. Well, the announcement of the Islamophobia envoy was in a closed session, in a hotel lobby, in Western Sydney, with the new immigration minister. No press conference, no Prime Minister, no Canberra spotlight. We talk about social cohesion. You want to talk about social cohesion? How about you talk to us equally? And the reality is it isn't Islamophobia that we're struggling with, it's anti-Palestinian racism. The same anti-Palestinian racism that means that if somebody comes along to a rally that is demanding justice for humanity in Palestine and Lebanon and brings a Hezbollah flag, that the first words out of our alternative Prime Minister is we should cancel their visas. We're Australian, Peter. I don't have a visa. I was born here. Now, I might have darker skin than you. You might think it's a funny name and a funny religion. But mate, I'm an Aussie. How about we cancel your visa? The absurdity of saying we're going to cancel their visas. I issued clarifying statements later on, and he meant anybody that was on a visa. That's what I meant. As if people come here on visas and then attend rallies. Well, let me tell you something. I've spoken to a lot of people on visas, and every one of them has been briefed by their lawyer, on top of organisers of rallies, saying don't come to our rallies because this place is racist. And if they get a picture of you at a rally, they're going to use that against you when you seek to turn your visa into residency. People on visas don't come to our rallies, Pete. They don't come to our rallies. Everyone at that rally is an Australian, belongs, is a potential voter. I don't think you'll get any of them, but every one of them is in fact an Australian. We're going to play a song in a second, but before we do, when we come back, I'm going to talk about the lies and how they have continued to sit in every space we are, that everything that you know hasn't been dispelled, and we need to do some extra work around that, and what I need you all to do. Straight after this song.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine.
No more murder, no more lies.
No more murder, no more lies.
Free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine. Palestine. Oh, Palestine in my heart. Palestine. Palestine. Oh, Palestine in my heart.
Stand up tall, this is a wake-up call. Never again means never again for all. To all my people in Gaza, even though we're living far from each other, your pain is my own pain. All for one and one for all. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. No more murder, no more lies. No more murder, no more lies. Free, free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestina. Palestina. Oh, Palestine in my heart. Palestina. Palestina. Oh, Palestine in my heart. Freedom is our destiny. You gotta make a choice, better be on the right side of history. No one can be free until we all are free. Enough is enough. We gotta stop this genocide. Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. No more murder, no more lies. Free, free, free Palestine. Palestina. Palestina. Oh, Palestine
it's authentic, and it hugs you, and it loves you for you. And that's what I think 3CR is. It's your best friend that doesn't care what you look like, how you sound, how you dress, how you move. It's going to accept you and love you as you are.
We're back. As I said before we went to that song, Palestina, the lies. I did a few MP briefings during the week. You'd be amazed that some people still don't know that beheaded babies was a lie. Some people don't know that beheaded babies were a lie. Some people still don't know that the Hamas command centres under the hospitals was a lie. We should talk about that very quickly in the concept of manufacturing consent for this genocide, where Israel created these amazing 3D architectural images of the command and control centres and said, this is what's going on under those tunnels, that's why we need to evacuate them. A very quick one is the Nasser hospital, where they said you must evacuate, and the doctors there said, we can't evacuate, we've got people on life support, and in particular, we've got a neonatal unit of preemie babies. And Israel said, don't worry, we'll look after them, but we've got to get in there and get all the Hamas guys. Well, they went in there, and when the doctors went back a week or two later, those babies were dead and decomposing. That's a fact. The tunnels lie. Systematic rapes lie. Fact, video evidence of Israeli, I'm going to call them prison guards, they're concentration guards, raping Palestinian inmates, female, children. Systematic rape is an Israeli phenomenon. Beheaded babies, anyone that has been watching social media will have seen so many pictures of Palestinian beheaded babies. We need to be calling up talkback stations, writing letters to the editor, but also any opportunity you get to speak to your friends. You should know that Israel did such a job in manufacturing consent for this genocide that those initial stories that were pushed out, the doctored audio, no apology has been given, no remedy has been sought. The doctored video of the chants at the Opera House had millions of views all over the world. Millions of views. No apology. No apology from any one of our mainstream media reporters about allowing those Hasbarists on to tell the lie. Joe Biden said he saw the pictures. Benjamin Netanyahu said he sent the pictures of the beheaded babies. Nobody's held them up. Nobody's done the expose to say what sort of country makes this sort of stuff up. And the sort of country that makes this sort of stuff up cannot be, should not be, must not be supported at whatever level. And if your concept of Zionism is that you believe that this is okay, that you can justify this stuff by saying your book says it's okay, or you believe that it's okay, or Israel's got a right to defend itself, Jews need a homeland. On October 8, Israel asked itself not why did this happen, but how did we let it happen? And everything they've done since has been based on this concept of security, that we have to keep them trapped, we have to keep our foot on top of them. The question that should have been asked is, why did this happen? And go deep on why this happened, and you'll get to ethnic cleansing, occupation, degradation, dehumanization, settler colonialism, and all of those words. And if they did the work, we could have had, the world would be and could be better. Just after, in sort of November, whilst all of the fascist members of the Knesset, these Zionists, and this is who they are, were rolling out about their Amalek and human animals, and there are no innocents in Gaza, they released adverts about what Gaza would look like after October 7, and there were adverts for buying villas by the sea in Gaza. Well, it should be no surprise that in the past week there was an article in the Jerusalem Post talking about, is Lebanon even really a country? Isn't that real North Israel? And the adverts for housing in Lebanon have already rolled out. The sickening space that this is, that we are in a world where our mainstream media and our politicians just allow this stuff to go. Just allow this stuff to go, and nobody's actually talking about the genocideers that exist in that space. And we're out here in growing numbers. I mean, overnight, 1 million people were in London in the streets. 1 million people. Tomorrow, I expect across the continent, hundreds of thousands of people will come out in solidarity with the Palestinians in our call. Find a way to get to your rally. Find a way to grab your friends, your family. I'll be emceeing tomorrow. I hope you come along to the Melbourne rally, 12 o'clock at the State Library. Get there, be loud and be present. If you don't buy The Age today, I mean, it used to be a paper of much repute, was, the go-to. But sadly, today's edition is just filled with anti-Palestinian racism and a centering of a Zionist narrative that talks about, the feelings of Australian Zionists. And we get asked, what, don't you realise that protesting on this day is really insensitive? Don't you realise by asking me if I think it's insensitive that you're belittling my experience? Do you know how we feel? Have you once asked how we're going? Have you come out to our communities and said, how can we help? Have you spoken to us? This disparity and duplicity is shameful. And you should know, I hope you hear these words, that every colonised person, every other, every brown, yellow, every queer, every other human, quote unquote, than a cis white male and a cis white female, sees themselves in Palestine. Every one of them sees themselves as a Palestinian. It's only you that sees yourself in Israel. And it's going to be something that that stain will be something you will not be able to wash away from your legacy. Overnight, we've had just a massive increase in the violence in Lebanon. The Israelis have gone in and just a bombing left, right and centre. Just in an orgy of despicable rage, despicable power, despicable racism, unchecked by the West, which continues to send weapons, continues to give the diplomatic cover that Israel enjoys. During the week, the calls for calling in the Iranian embassy were made because he offered a note of condolence on the assassination and murder of Hezbollah's Hassan Nasrallah over a tweet. What about the Israeli ambassador? What about calling him in? What about saying stop? What about saying get out? What about saying we're not going to trade with you? What about saying that you're no longer welcome? What about the up to 1,000 Australians that are currently serving in the Israeli genocide forces? These people are going to come back here. They're going to come back here with their PTSD, with their war traumas, with their stories, with their concepts of superiority and hate, and they're going to be our school teachers, our bus drivers, our doctors. They're going to be part of society. Well, you should know we're going to track you down and we're going to prosecute you to every extent of the law. The reality is you are not protected. If you commit war crimes as an Australian, wherever you might be, you are liable for prosecution, and we have the resources and we are already putting the paperwork together to get you. We're going to get you. You're not going to be safe. You're not going to be safe wherever you are in the world. And that's true. There's some cases have already started in France and Belgium. You will be held to account. Those TikTok videos that you thought were really funny, they've all been kept. They're all going to be evidence. In the last couple of seconds, I want to remind you all to get out, get loud, get proud for Palestine. Make sure you're there with us tomorrow and on Monday for the vigil. A big thanks to 3CR. It's been a year, and the support the show has received from 3CR, particularly with my executive producer, Giselle, who's here with me. She's been fantastic. Michaeli, who's been doing the podcast, thank you so much. But also the whole team in here, Juliet, Gab, Mick. Leanne, Inez, and everyone else. Thank you all so very much. Make sure you get out tomorrow, 12 o'clock, State Library. Share the podcast, tell your friends, and remember, there's never been a better time for a free Palestine.
Stand in solidarity with Palestine this
You've
Sunday.
been listening to a 3CR podcast. If you found it valuable, please
Hi, it's
consider
Nasser
donating or
Mashni from
subscribing to
Palestine
support
Remembered,
independent
Australia's
community
only
radio.
dedicated
To find
show
out more,
on
go to
Palestine.
3cr.org.au.
Join me every Saturday morning at 9:30, and very importantly, get along to our rallies. Sunday, 12 o'clock, State Library. Join us.
We have to mobilise to show our support for Palestine. 12 p.m, State Library, this Sunday.
Rally to demand freedom and justice for Palestine. No war on Gaza.
Free Palestine Melbourne is a 3CR supporter.
You've been listening to a 3CR podcast. If you found it valuable, please consider donating or subscribing to support independent community radio. To find out more, go to 3cr.org.au.